G'day, welcome back to another episode of TOGL. Last week you saw I was doing a bit of milling. I've just started doing a bit of milling this morning as well, but one of the belts has decided to fail, like a fan belt for making it spin, so that's it for milling for today. I'll have to go and get a new one tomorrow, because today is the public holiday, it's Monday, so no shops open. But there is something else that I wanted to trial, and that's this right here. So this is what they call a thicknesser, and it serves two purposes. I can adjust the height of this up and down, and there's a series of blades in here, and what I do is I just feed the timber through, and once I've milled it into slabs and whatnot, feed it through, and it will make it all at the exact same thickness, but it also puts a really nice finish on it. Because it's a series of blades that are just shaving off the timber, it puts a beautiful finish on it. Now, the other day I milled a heap of planks that are going to be used for the deck, not on the decking, but when I build the surrounds, the rail around the deck. Basically what I'm going to do is between each post I'll build like a frame, and then I'll have slats all the way through that frame. So those slats is what I've been cutting. And I hadn't used this yet, I've had it for a little while, so I thought I'll run some of these slats through. Came up beautiful. So I'm going to show you how this works, and show you the difference between coming straight off the timber mill, which looks pretty good, and then going through that, which makes it look amazing. Yeah, you just wind it down a little bit at a time until it starts to take some off, and if the timber's fairly wavy, obviously you've got to take it down a fair few times as you keep taking the top off. These have been cut with the modifications I've made to the mill. It's cutting beautifully straight, so literally you may have been able to pick it up in the audio, it was feeding through and really not doing anything, and then on one of the feed throughs it just really bogged in, like brrr, really just, it got right on, and it was even all the way across. It took that off. So when you're looking at a piece of timber that's come straight off the mill, we're looking like that. And then if this shows up well enough, look at the difference. Doesn't it clean it up beautifully? So this is Tasmanian myrtle that I'm cutting, and the finish is chalk and cheese. It's beautiful. So that's what I'm going to spend some time doing this morning, is feeding 24 of these planks through, getting them all nicely done, nicely neatened up, so that it looks nice up there when I put it all together. So I'm going to get that done, and then once that's done, that probably won't take too long. Then we'll have to see what else we've got to do. I do need to go up and look at one of the tracks where they're going to put a bit of a track through to join up two of our existing logging trails that have been on the block for decades, but they just don't quite come together, and there's a section of about 100 meters, but there's a couple of dozen tree ferns in that area, so I'd like to actually get those and move them out of the way so that they don't get damaged or destroyed. So I might go up and do that, but we'll see. It depends on what the weather's going to do. It's quite cloudy at the moment, and it's warm. We've had a couple of very light showers, but it makes it very steamy, very muggy, so If it starts raining this afternoon, obviously I'll find something to do indoors, but otherwise, yeah, I'll get this done and I might work on that track. We'll see. Okay, well, this is where I need to get this road put through. Just back there, you can see where this ridge runs along there. There's another bit of a, it drops away over that way. So we're actually right on the ridge. It runs right down and right through, down through there. And then there's another clearing just probably maybe 80 meters through there. So what I want to do is just take out a couple of these tree ferns, just to sort of guide the way of where that road will go, and we'll keep the road as narrow as it can be so that we're just pushing straight through there. And those tree ferns, I can just trim them, cut the base off and move them. Unlike other plants, other trees where they rely on their root system, the tree ferns don't. So you cut them off at ground level, you could even cut them off halfway up from the ground. You take that crown, they grow from the crown, so you can then go and pop that into a hole. You don't even need to pop it into a hole. Literally, you could just sit it on the concrete and put a strap around a post just to hold it up or something. It grows from the top, as long as it's getting its water and some nutrient in through the top. That's all that matters. So it's good. It means that we can very easily transplant a lot of these tree ferns so that we're not destroying them. Mind you, seriously, there's probably, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000 of these things on our 300 acres here. There's just ferns everywhere, but still, if I can move them somewhere else, especially like down the side of a road where we've already done some clearing, and then I can move them down there and reline that just to keep them, why not? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get in and cut a few of these out. just one other thing I should note with the cutting of the tree ferns with the chainsaw is that the trunk is very abrasive on the saw. It always ends up with a lot of dirt and grit that ends up in that trunk as it grows. So it's really not good for the chain. So what I do is I keep a couple of old chains. Because it is so soft and fibrous, the chain still rips through easy, but it gets blunt very fast. But even when it's blunt, it still rips through. So whenever I'm going to be chopping these tree ferns, I always put a very old chain on, so I'm not making blunt a nice new sharp one. Anyway, that's it. That's one down. Like, it's so fast, so easy to do. And I will now roll that up out the way. I'll take another couple more down through there just to clear that track down. Get them all rolled over. Now when I store them as well, I do store them upright. I did have some that I had stored laying on their side. The problem is that when the fronds start to grow out of the top, because they come out like a snail really, like a big curl, and then they just unravel and then turn into these big fronds, right? So what happens is when they're laying on their side, it will come out and then it will start to unravel and shoot for the sky, which is no good when you then stand it up and they're pointing out the wrong direction. So I've learned that when I'm keeping them stored before I transplant them somewhere, I always store them upright as well. And look, I mean, if you go into Bunnings or your hardware store or nurseries and you see those tree ferns for sale, they're always standing upright. That's the way that they should be. So I thought I'm going to roll this one out and get a couple more done. That night I managed to film the comet. That was pretty cool. And then the following night I thought I'd try and do a full night time lapse. Now there was no aurora, but you can see the stars moving through. I think when we get a good aurora, using this effect on the GoPro is gonna produce an amazing piece of video. So I'm looking forward to being able to film that and get that for you. But this is an entire night. Here comes the dawn. Well, as you may be able to hear, it's a very windy day today and cold. We're at the end of January and it's still, you wouldn't think it, not with the temperature. Anyway, the other day I had a really big harvest day, as in lots of foraging, lots of harvesting. So a friend of mine said that their plum tree was loaded with fruit. So I went over there, picked a big bag of plums. So later on in the video, we're going to preserve some of those. I went around, checked a lot of my hives and ended up taking 8 frames total of honey, full frames of honey. So there's probably 15-20 kilos of honey there. And another friend, a very good friend of ours, has lent me their centrifuge honey extractor. We'll go through that as well, and I'll show you how I extract the honey using that. Very grateful to be able to use that, because that's going to save me a lot of time and effort. And then the other thing that we did as well was I went to another friend's place and they let me harvest a huge bag of these. So probably looking at this, you would not have any idea what it is. I know I wouldn't if I was to show that. Now, what I have to do with these is dehusk them. And apparently, they stay in your hands for weeks. So I'm going to wear gloves. So dehusk, that gives you a bit of a hint as to what it is. let's have a look at one. So we've got, you don't really need the pliers, but because I'm wearing gloves, I don't want to destroy the gloves in trying to get this off. So I'm just going to use pliers and just mush it all off. Because guaranteed I will put holes through these gloves if I try and do it this way. Let's have a look. Oh, they're a little tough. This is going to take me a while. And that one I have totally destroyed, so it mustn't have been quite ready yet, I'm guessing. Let's look at another one. It's a very juicy husk. It's almost like an apple. But we'll get it all off. And then you'll see what's inside this. Well, you still can't really see from this probably, but what they are is walnuts. So that's the walnut from inside that green husk. So what you do is you wait until they start to go black like that, and then pick them off the tree. If they hit the ground, they're usually no good. So we've been told. So yeah, you just wait till they start to go black, pick them, and then you can dehusk them. Now that will need to sit for about 3 weeks, dry right out, then I can crack it and get the kernel out. Look at the colour of those gloves. So you wouldn't want your hands, and that's just after doing one, you wouldn't want your hands being stained like that for a couple of weeks. Anyway, I'm going to tuck into getting all of these done. It's going to take me a while, but like I said, cold, windy day, nothing else to do. I'll sit here and do that, and then in a little while I will show you the honey extraction and some of the plum preservation that we're going to do as well. I'll see you then. I've just found an easier way of processing these walnuts. As I said to you, the texture, when I was grabbing them with the pliers, I said that the texture was very much like apple, really. And so I found that it's actually much easier if you use a small paring knife, and you can just slice it all off. And that's way easier. So I'm just sitting here now, just cutting it all off over a box, and I'm going to get through these a lot quicker doing it this way. So once I'm done, that kind of doesn't get it all off, but it gets the majority of it off, and then it ends up just looking like that. And that's the walnut. Well, it's heading into the evening, and that wind is still howling and it's still freezing out there. But I did go down to the veggie patch during the course of the day and picked a heap of these beautiful fresh peas. I need to get those shelled. And then I've got, as I said, these beautiful plums that I got from a friend's tree. And these plums are just amazing, beautiful big plums. So I'm going to preserve them. I've got some in the fridge for eating straight away, and the rest are for preserving. So bit of a busy night, and then if I get through all of that, I've got to start spinning the honey out of the honeycomb. Now the shells that are left over, chickens love having them, so they'll go out to the chickens in the morning. Might put some into the worm farm as well. But yeah, it's really great to be able to harvest your own food like this, have really good fresh produce, but you know, you have to work for it, but it's worth the effort. Well, we've got our peas all ready to go. Now, as nice as they are fresh, we obviously can't eat that many over the course of a period of what we grow. That amount there, yeah, that'll keep for a couple of days, and we could have it every night for dinner for a couple of days and that'd be done. But we've been doing some experimenting with how to preserve our food for longer. And one of those ways that we've been doing with some of the veggies, it's worked quite successfully, although we've not tried it with peas yet, and that's to vacuum seal them before we freeze them. A lot of veggies, they say you can blanch them, which is just dunking them in hot water for like 30 seconds or so and then straight into ice water, and then you can freeze them. That does work to a point as well, but it's a bit of extra effort. If we can just vacuum pack them, put them in the freezer, and then they come out fine, then that's what we want. Now I grabbed a handful of snow peas as well that I picked off the vine today, and I'm going to chuck some of them in the snap lock bag. No, it's not. It's a vacuum pack bag. I'm going to put some of them in there as well because I want to test that. So I'm going to leave them frozen for a couple of days in the freezer, and then I'll cook them. We'll see how they taste, and I'll bring that to you next week. But for now, let's get the vacuum sealing going. Now, these little units don't cost too much, and they are quite simple to use, and they're great for storing things. Not just frozen things either. You know, you could store biscuits in that and they'd store for months without going stale. Anything where you just want to basically, take the oxygen out and keep it sealed so that the food doesn't go off. So all we do is we just plug it in, and then we've got to wait for it to get itself ready. Now when we open this up, what we want to do is, with these bags, you've always got one end sealed, or if you do buy a whole roll, it's just like a big long tube. So you cut it where you want to cut it, you seal one end, fill it with your food, and then you vacuum and seal the other end. So this one's already got one end sealed. So let's put some of the peas in there. So we'll pop some of these snow peas in first, and then I'm going to put a couple of handfuls of the fresh garden peas in too, like that. And there's our veggie ready to go. Now in here there's a bit of a tray just there that I can get my finger in, and it'll catch fluids. If any fluid, if you were doing something in there that had fluid and the fluid got sucked out a little bit, it would go into that tray, which you can then tip out. So we just want to make sure that we've got the end over onto that part. Then we close the machine down and click it into place. Now all we have to do is there's two buttons. We've got a vacuum and a seal. If I just wanted to seal it, maybe for chips or something like that, you know, like Smith's Crisp type chips, you could just seal it. But we want to vacuum first, so we hit the vacuum, and it sucks all that air out. When it's finished, it's now got the light on to say it's sealing. Whilst you're waiting, have a quick drink. And it's finished sealing. So now I can just release. Open that up. Oh, buttons on the side, there we are. Open that up, and there we are. That is vacuum packed. The lighting's not great in here, sorry, but vacuum packed, airtight, and I can just pop that straight in the freezer. I'll get that out in a couple of days. I'll cook them up and I'll report back to you next week on how they taste, and hopefully they come out fine, no damage, because with some veggies, when you freeze them and then you thaw them out and cook them, they just go very mushy. They're horrible. And the reason being is because the plants are made up of cells, the way our body is made up of cells. When you freeze the plant, certain plants, the moisture, the liquid in the cells crystallizes. Those crystals break the cell structure, and that's why when you thaw it again, it turns to mush. That's why some things go mushy after you freeze them. Alright, the rest I'm just going to keep fresh, and I'll pop them in the fridge. I'm going to have some of them for dinner tomorrow night. Now, as I said, the next thing I've got to do is these plums. But stand by for 5. Let me pack up this vacuum pack. Now, time's getting away from us, so I'll have to do the honey extraction and plum preservation on the next video. I just wanted to give you a quick update on that little chick you just saw run past. We thought we'd actually lost it the other day because on one of the evenings I couldn't find the chick, and I thought there's no way it can get up onto the perch. Guess what? I put the camera in and it turns out the little chicken can get up on the perch. So this is at 2 minutes past 8 in the evening. What a brave jump for that little chick. And now you can see the little chick peeking out from underneath its mum's wing, all tucked in safe and sound for the night. Or so I thought. So the timestamp here, as you can see, is 7 minutes past 8. Then as I reviewed further footage, at 11 minutes past 8, little chick's just climbing back up again. So I can only assume that he must have fallen off the perch. And by 13 past, it's made it back up and under mum's wing again. Then, at 20 to 9, I see the little chick is trying to get up again, so it must have fallen off again. So I don't know whether it just keeps getting knocked off when its mum moves or when the other chickens are getting up, but it's a persistent little bugger. And it just wants to get up there under mum's wing so I can go to bed. Nope, try again. Well, after a very big day yesterday, which just about killed me, this is where we are at with putting this little piece of road through. And you'll see why I wanted just this little 100-metre stretch through. If you remember correctly, this was just all tree fern right there. Now what I've done is I've moved the tree ferns, some of the tree ferns, over to there, and from there I need to then move them up to where I'm going to put them, and I'll stand them all up and whatnot. They're right there for a few days though. This is the crown of a blackwood that had to come down, so I've just cut a little path through that. Just cut it up into pieces ready to move. So I had to bring down, I've had to bring down 2 or 3 little blackwoods, and there's still a couple to go. But that's what we've got to do to get this road through. So I'm going to have to grind, manage these couple of stumps, get them out the way. And then there's there's 2 more blackwoods here that I'm going to need to sort out. Actually, I'll probably just get away with that middle one. I'll probably just get rid of that, because between that one there and that one there, that's wide enough for a car to go through. So I'll probably just need to get rid of that one. And I've removed the tree ferns from behind it, so it's not going to fall on any of them. There's a couple more that I've just stuck to the side that I need to move, but it's quite amazing up through this area. Let me show you this area. This is just incredible up through here. Isn't that amazing? Just incredible. So prehistoric. So anyway, back to over here. So yeah, I'll get rid of that tree there, and then the road will just pop up straight up that embankment there. And you can see there is quite a nice clearing over through there. Flat ground, and that's what we want to access. Be a great little spot. So that's going to be it for this episode. There's been lots of different things in there. So this time of year gets very busy. Thankfully the days are longer. But anyway, we get to harvest a lot of stuff now, pack it away, ready for eating through the winter time and enjoying and getting some of these things on the land done. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next Friday, you stay safe, take care, have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.